I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this episode with my friend Angie Wisdom. Now, Angie is extremely humble, so she's probably going to hate that I'm doing this, but I had to give her a proper intro. Angie's one of the most successful business and life coaches in the world. She's the mastermind behind some of the most successful people that you know. She's also a best-selling author and a keynote speaker. Now, this is one of those episodes that you can't skip around. You have to watch all the way through. We start with Angie's childhood and what the trauma was when she was a child that made her the Angie Wisdom you see today. Then in the middle of the episode, we talk about the meat and bones of how she gets her executives and clients to get the most out of themselves. At the very end, we talk about her new book where she's writing about capacity and how we're in a capacity crisis, which nobody else is talking about right now. So watch this whole thing the whole way through. And if I can ask you to hit the subscribe button, my team works extremely hard to put these episodes out. It means the world to us. And we hope you guys enjoy this episode. If I walk through the front door of your childhood home and I meet Angie, what girl am I meeting?
You know, I was this girl that was like happy, but starved for attention. But I always did feel like I was 100% capable of anything. We can't change what has happened, and there's a big shift in blaming the past versus crediting the past. And when you blame the past, you're a victim of it. When you credit the past, you use it to create what you want. And a lot of times people go to that material thing or that goal.
You could coach somebody for 6 years, you said, but you can get them to actually do activation within 6 months. What are you doing to people?
When I use hypnosis, I can bypass that conscious mind. So it's really just kind of hacking. We're in a capacity crisis. Every day somebody feels like they have a lack of drive, they're ADD, they're depressed, like there's something going on.
I don't think anybody's talking about that right now.
Nobody's talking about that.
Oh, that's amazing.
You want to make me break? See, thinking about not doing this at some point in time, that's emotional for me.
If I walk through the front door of your childhood home and I meet Angie, under the age of 10, what girl am I meeting?
Oh gosh, that takes me, for some reason you say that and the first thing that comes to my mind is this green bathing suit that I used to run around the house in. And I was called String Bean because I was like the tiniest little person, like for years until like, I don't know, probably like my 9th grade year. But, you know, I was this girl that was like just happy, but starved for attention. You know, like I would perform. I was a comedian. I was, my sister was like a theater major. So she was very like skilled, right? And she was student body president. So she had like this right to take up space and it was honorable. And meanwhile, I'd come in like with a goofy hat on or do a cartwheel through a party or something, anything to be like noticed. But I was also the girl who was super vigilant, hyper vigilant, like watching the room, understanding what was going on. You know, my mother was an alcoholic, so because I wanted that place of peace and happiness, you know, you would either see me in this mode where I was free and all was good and I was doing cartwheels, or you'd see me in this like calculating and sensing what people are going through and how can I change that person's energy so that I can get back to my happy place.
Who was the person that you were trying to change the most in your childhood?
Oh, my mom by far. Yeah, because she was an alcoholic, yeah.
Was it consistent? Like what did the home feel like?
It depended on what state she was in, which is why I was always like, okay, what's the read today? You know, where are we? What's going on? And if it was, you know, filled with tension, if there was anger, then it was like, how do I diffuse this? I think that's where a lot of my comedy came in, because I was like, how do I make her happy? Should I sing? Should I dance? Should I, like, how can I change her mood and get her back into a good place? So there was a lot of that. And then also times there were, I'm sure you can relate, or you've seen somebody, right? Sometimes they drink and they're really angry, they're sad, or sometimes they drink and it's like, it's a party and everyone's in a good mood. So I was always kind of like reading the room to figure out, how do I show up so that I can neutralize and either make the room peaceful or happy.
When was the phase and the age that you started? Because as a kid, it's hard to really know what you're really doing. You're just almost in survival, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was the age that you figured out there was some characteristics and things I had to do to survive, right? What was that age for you, and what did that look like?
Oh, truthfully, Jared, I mean, probably not till I was in therapy in like my 30s. Honestly, like what that skill set that you develop is exactly that, to survive, right? Like you're taught, hey, there's not enough space for you, make people happy so that it's safe, so that it's peaceful. So you just instinctually do that as a child. You have no idea that it's a skill set. And so I think at probably around my teenage years, I felt like I had developed a skill of manipulation, right? Like, oh, I know how to like manipulate my mother to feel this way, but it was not like, oh, this is what I have to do to survive. It felt like a skill.
Yeah, power.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
100%.
it's reps create the skill. And I think it's funny because when you look at children, adults that don't really understand the brain very well will look at a child that's maybe quiet or doesn't, when they go through a traumatic thing, that don't speak about it, like, oh, that person's strong, that child is strong, right? They're not showing their emotions, right? When a kid is loud and they're usually the kid's loud and all that because they're comfortable in their environment. They're allowed to show themselves.
Right.
So for you, going into what you know now about helping really adults that they're still children in their mindset. Now, success comes from a lot of times the trauma, like the grittiness, the people pleaser, the not feeling like you're worthy. It makes you work a little bit harder. So there is some goods to it. What were the goods you took from your childhood, and what were the negatives?
It was an interesting dynamic because my mother had like a heart of gold. Like I knew she believed in me. Like she's like, you can do anything you want. The actions didn't show that, right? Like I had to find my own ride to gymnastics. There were so many things that they just never did. My parents never did. They were divorced, but nobody came to my cheerleading game. Nobody came to a gymnastics thing. I had to find my ride. So I didn't have the support. The action did not back what she said, but I always did feel like I was 100% capable of anything. So it was a really interesting kind of infusion of support of, you can be anything, you can do anything, you're absolutely amazing, but what I'm showing you says otherwise, which was really the disease that she had. I was really independent. I started working at Chick-fil-A when I was 13 years old, and I paid for my own stuff. I bought my own shampoo, I bought my own toiletries. Like I have not worked since I was 13. Because I wanted to be financially independent. I think that was a security thing for me. And I also watched her grow. As I was growing up, I watched her accumulate massive amounts of debt, work as a bartender, work as a travel agent, work as a hairdresser, work all these jobs, buy everything on credit cards. And I knew like I didn't really want to be in that situation, so that taught me a lot, right? I believe that the value that I have around financial freedom today is very much because of what I saw as I was growing up. I had a weird like relationship with my past, and thinking that, gosh, she used to say to me like, well, I couldn't have been that bad of a mom because look at you. Look at how you turned out, so I must have done something right. And I thought, are you freaking kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, I am not this way because of you. Like, I had such animosity around that. And it took me probably until I was 40 years old, even in my development work and what I do, to go, shit, I am that way because of her. Not because of the great things she did, but because of the way that I was raised in, because of the hardships that I went through, and because of the lack of some of the support, and her falling asleep on the couch, and I'm trying to learn how to read, all these things, like, it 100% shaped who I was. And so people often say like, oh, your past doesn't define you. I'm like, it doesn't, but you get to define what your past means for you. So much, whether it was good or bad, it all got me here.
I saw a quote from Jordan Peterson that says, sometimes it's better to create the monster than learn how to tame the monster versus try to be the monster later in life. And I think about that, and that's a trauma response, because I do think about people that it's so interesting. All the successful people I talk to, there's always a deeper story that is like brutal. I mean, it's like you type it on ChatGPT or Claude and you say, was there ever an entrepreneur that made a bunch of money that didn't go through hard times? And it just laughs at you. And it's like, it was brutal times, right? And so now you obviously get out of that phase and you become a parent yourself. would you have done something different if you were your mom as the parent that you are now with your kids to be able to mold Angie to be a better person? Or do you think it actually was a great path for you, even though it was painful for you to mold yourself into the person you are now?
I struggled with that question for a while, because people always think, well, do you think it would have been better if you would have had like this mother who was an alcoholic that showed up, that drove you to school, that came to all your events and did all these things? And I'm like, sure, in the moment, it probably would have felt really, really great. I don't know if I would have been who I am today, though, So I wouldn't ever want to change it. And it's weird to say that, because would I have loved to have been like received differently and had a more stable environment and have my nervous system off the charts 24/7? Absolutely. That really sucked. But if I had to have that to have this, I'm choosing this all day long.
Is that a lot of part of your coaching that you help people with? Because for me, that's so interesting, because you take somebody's trauma, and a lot of people want to keep blaming their past. They're not present, or they don't think of the future. They're always just, well, this happened to me for this reason, or I'm this way because of this. And again, we'll get into words and identity, and
Sure.
that means a lot. But do you find it actually, because for me, I'm the same way. I've had past traumas. It's almost like, I want to say a chip on my shoulder, but it's almost a trophy where it's like, I'm so happy I went through those hard times, because I can see people, because I felt the hard times I went through.
Yeah.
So when somebody is not being seen, or somebody's doing something, I feel the emotion because I know what they're going through. Versus, I don't know if you could be the best coach or mentor if you're not really understanding the feelings they're going through. So do you use some of those, I don't want to say tactics, but I might say strategies, when you're helping somebody that is going through childhood trauma, for them to become a better self?
Absolutely. We can't change what has happened. And there's a big shift in blaming the past versus crediting the past. And when you blame the past, you're a victim of it. When you credit the past, you use it to create what you want. And people that's a big jump for people to make, right? Because there is a natural desire to blame and to take these factual circumstances to say, well, gosh, I grew up this way, or my parents did this to me. Yes, and what do you want to do about it? What is the empowerment piece for you? And many people, I hate to say it, they don't want to live in the empowered place. It's easier to live in the place of blame and victim mentality.
Why is that?
Because it's a scapegoat. You don't have to do the work. You don't have to get uncomfortable. You have a reason, right, for why you are the way you are, why you don't have what you want in your life. It's a lot easier for the brain to reconcile that and to create cognitive congruence than it is to think about, man, I really want this nice house, I really want this great family, but I got to work for it and I don't have it. Like, that's uncomfortable for people. And people don't like to sit in that. It causes dissonance in our brain. And so it's like, nope, don't like that. But if I can tie the fact that I don't have this because this happened to me, the brain is happy, ties it up in a nice little bow, and you go on about your life.
What is something that you see with the most successful people? Is it typically they come to you with grind culture and chaos and all that? Or is it they come to you with calmness and calculation?
Mostly chaos, a little bit of both, right? Most of my clients are very high achievers. They have very high expectations for themselves. So they're usually doing a lot. There's overextension. Sometimes they have the story that they thrive in chaos, right? They've made this story so that they can continue to perpetuate that. Most of my clients don't come to me calm. They come to me because they want to get calm. And they recognize that the chaos and the hustle and the grind and the overextension has become a ceiling for them.
When they come to you chaotic, what are you doing on the first call with them to figure out how you can really help them? As
far as like having that initial conversation before I even start working with them, it's like, what do you want? What do you truly, truly want? And a lot of times people go to that material thing or that goal or that financial revenue or the company size. And it's like, yeah, okay, but what do you really want? What is underneath of that? Because that's not anything that's going to give you feeling. Like, what do you want? And most of the time people want peace. They want joy. They want to feel content, but they don't want to rest on their laurels. They don't want to not continue to push.
How do you help somebody with that though, right? Because if you it's so funny. It is the materialistic thing. They have these vision boards and, I want to do this. I want the house, the boats, the cars, the watches. It's all materialistic, right? And then the worst thing that would be is if they get that and they realize that like that's not what I really wanted. So knowing that there's always a deeper thing underneath it, how do you dig into it to make sure? Because what you do a great job of that I've noticed is you don't ever talk at people. There's very few statements that you actually give in the very first calls I see. It's always question after question. And the person is then kind of getting the answers through your questions. So what are you doing in that process to get them out of materialism and things that actually would probably make them worse if they did achieve that goal into real fulfillment and purpose?
And thank you for that. Notice, like, people often say, is this how this works? I just keep solving my own problems and answering my own questions.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
you.
Whatever works, right? But there's so much power in that, because anyone who figures out the own answer to their problem through that reflection is going to be drastically more inclined to take action on it. It's going to be more meaningful than if somebody else tells them what to do. And so it's two pieces. One, normalizing it and neutralizing it and not having judgment around it. And then two, just digging deeper. If someone's like, wow, I really want, and I literally had someone come in, he's like, I've got the car, I've got the boat. Like, do I need a plane? Because none of this is working for me. And when they say, like, this is what they want, I'm like, okay, how will you feel when you get it? And they're like, oh, happy I get? Happy? And then they start realizing, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know why I want this thing. Like, how am I actually going to feel? This isn't going to change the way I feel. Accomplished?
What were you when you were younger? What was your goals? Was it materialism at first, or was it purpose?
My goal, I've never had a materialism goal.
Interesting.
Ever, ever, ever. My husband, he would see me like, oh my God, please just buy the nicer thing. And I'm like, but I can get 3 of these. I grew up shopping at Kmart and Zayre's. Yeah. So it was like, I never had a materialistic goal.
Husband did?
My husband did.
Did he?
Yeah, he wasn't materialistic, but he always appreciated, and he grew up similar to me. Like, he didn't have things either. So he always, for some reason, he wanted the finer things because he couldn't have them.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, didn't feel like I didn't get the finer things. I just felt like this was the way to do it smarter, to save and conserve and buy the 3 things at Zayre's instead of the 1 thing at Dillard's,
So what is your success then for you? How would you define Angie Wisdom success? So I'm going to be Angie Wisdom for a little bit. Let's ask you, what's your success?
I mean, as a kid, what that goal was I badly, badly, badly wanted to be seen. I wanted to be seen, and I wanted to be valuable because I didn't feel valuable. And so that was always my goal. Like, how do I add value? Because if you think about it, like growing up in the environment that I did, when you have a parent that chooses something over you, I remember hiding your cigarettes, begging, please quit smoking, or throwing out the liquor bottles or replacing them with water. Like, I wanted to be chosen over that. And I wasn't. I wasn't chosen over that. So the ultimate goal was like, man, where can I get someone to choose me? I went down that tangent, and then I forgot the other question that you asked.
Because for me, it's when I think about, and I'm pausing on you because I see you holding back a little bit.
You're trying to make me crack.
I mean, if we do, we do, right? But no, I think it's really important point because the thing that I'm hearing from you is when people start to look at the materialistic things and they're always chasing those things, and then when they achieve let me share a story with you if you don't mind. So I'm going to take over the mic for a little bit. I was that person when I was growing up. I came from nothing. I thought I wanted the cars, I wanted the things, I wanted all the nice things, right? And God did a really awesome thing for me, which he showed me the opposite of what money could do to somebody. So when I was in high school, I just was curious of what happened. And so I would go to the parents, and I'd be like, if I was in high school and I met you, I'd been like, Angie, can I go to dinner with you or lunch, right? And I would try to find the secret to what success was. All of those dinners and lunches, there was only 2 parents that I was like, I want to be like them. Everybody else was just miserable people. They were chasing things all the time. It was just awful. And I walked away more confused, like, wait, I don't really want this. But then I also see the poverty and like the stress of, financials and all that. So fast forward to junior year of high school, I'm dating this girl. Dad's very successful, very wealthy. Fast forward, the mom finds out that he was embezzling her for about $3 million. So she gets pissed and mad. So she sells all of her goods and starts hiring attorneys, and they're separated at the time, and they're going through this court battle for about 12 months. I get a call. She blows her brains out. And so I walk into the room, and I'm the one that clears the body. I'm seeing my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she's up. Like, it was wow. Out of a twilight zone. And so firsthand, I got to see what money can actually do. And she left a note, the mom left a note after that says this was the last. And we went in her closet thinking we were going to find all her purses and jewelry and all, but she went to the very last. She sold everything for the attorneys to try to beat. That was all she cared about. And so for me, God did this beautiful thing. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was beautiful. I thought it was miserable because you see the repercussions, what money can do. And it was the late nights with the ex-girlfriend of just like this, the misery. And I got to also experience the dad going into, he was able to go into the body and he was like, I can't do this by myself, but I need my time to say my goodbye to her. And I sat there and he was like, I want you to be in the room. And I sat there for 3 hours and I heard the words that he said and just the shame, the guilt, I wanted the world for you, but then I lost myself along the process. And I was like shaking. And so I think God did a really powerful thing for me where it was like, look, you're gonna want to have success, because I think I'm a lot like you, where it's like, I don't really care about the materialistic things anymore. I care more about the impact. Mm-hmm. Like I love helping people and really just seeing like them light up. And so for me, I was like, I think about that story and I'm like, the most successful people are the ones that care about purpose and fulfillment the most, not about the things. And so when I think about you, let's just do a game real quick. Let's act like all of us had all the money in the world. What would Angie do tomorrow if money didn't matter and you didn't have to make a living and money wasn't tied to worth? But what would you do based off of the passion and what you can do anything you want? What would you do?
I mean, a couple things come to mind. I would speak more. I would broaden what I do, right? Because I want my voice and my message to be out there more. I want people to have the opportunity and the teachings that I give the people who can afford to sit down here and do it. So I would 100% put a ton of money towards just being a voice to everybody. That is one thing I would do. I would open up a bakery.
So you want to just like do nothing? You want to just roll over and be like, oh, like a retirement?
No. Here's the funny thing, if you don't mind me sharing this.
No.
When I worked as a financial advisor, I started my career at Morgan Stanley, and I would take out a calendar, like, the old school calendars that nobody uses anymore. I'd take it out every day and I'd cross days off the calendar. And it occurred to me, this part of my growth moment, I was like, I'm crossing days off the calendar. Like, I counted the money in our accounts like all the time because I was like, I cannot wait until I can retire.
Yeah.
And I was like 24, 25. And I was just like, retirement. How's the balance doing? How am I tracking it? And I was like, this is not a good sign, right? Crossing days off like I was serving a sentence, couldn't wait for the weekend, couldn't wait till I retired. Now, I hope I can coach at 80. I mean, it's like, you want to make me break? See, thinking about not doing this at some point in time, that's emotional for me.
Why?
Because people don't understand how much potential they have. People don't understand the choices that they have, the self-mastery they can evoke, what they can create in their own life. I mean, we're a species that can just do anything. And people don't get it. They either don't understand it, they don't do the work to have it, but you want peace, you can have it. You want joy, you can have it. You want money, like whatever you want, you can have. And I just love helping people see that through self-trust, self-worth, self-belief, just changing how they use their brain, like all of that. That to me is like just the most amazing thing in the world.
Do you find it like a sense of healing from your past, or is it more of it just lights you up from a passion solely?
It lights me up. Yeah. I don't feel like it's a healing thing. I'm super competitive.
Yeah.
I love to compete. So selfishly, it's like this little, I'm competing
Yeah.
vicariously through people every single day. So when my client's like, oh my gosh, I got this deal, I got the promotion, the company just hit this level, I'm just like, yes, I feel like I'm in, 20 different games, competing.
Okay, so let's gamify it, because when you look at somebody, you're probably really, because your intuition is amazing. When you look at somebody, you can probably see their potential, aka their better self, but then you're sometimes talking to their lesser self.
Yeah.
So when those two things are so far apart from each other, do you get frustrated when they keep going to the old, or is it more just a game for you where it's like, how can I continue to get them?
I think I'm very discerning about who I take on. Speaking of the intuition, right? I know who's going to go the distance, and that's the horse I'm going to bet on, so that's the one I'm going to take on. And so very rarely do my clients keep doing the opposite direction.
So what signs do you see that you're like sand, like line in the sand? Nope.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think, and maybe not signs, but I'm very gifted in the intuition, in individualization. Like I see really, really deeply to people's core, and I know whether or not they have the potential and how well that is connected to what they actually want to create. So if I see that, I have a great, great ability to allow people to see themselves through me, right? Like I can see something in you and have you see it through my lens, and you're like, dang, I can do this. I feel like I'm on top of the world. So somebody who had no confidence at all and thought they couldn't do anything, when I let them look through my lens and what I see in them, it's just, it's off. I mean, it's off to the moon,
That's the people, so when I was calling your clients, I'm asking the questions of the tactics and the tips, like, did she give you anything? And I'm trying to find that, and I found a common theme around all of it, which is just, she is like my best friend, and she makes me feel so comfortable first. Because it's interesting, it's when you're comfortable in a room, you're able to share freely, right? And when you're guarded and you're there, and a lot of entrepreneurs are that way, because I think about when you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner, sometimes what you want to do emotionally is not what you really should do in some situations. And sometimes that gets in, like the person that you were explaining, where it's like, I got to keep toughing this out. I got to keep grinding. Like I perform the best in chaos. That's an identity. So when you see somebody, how are you able to make them feel so comfortable? That is not just so much like, obviously I know you care so much, but what do you think that is your master? And it might not be anything. It might just be like, you're like, it's my intuition, it's who I am. But like, what do you think is really special about you that makes people feel so comfortable for them to actually open up their layers?
I think it's the lack of judgment and the surplus of acceptance. Everyone is who they are, and if you judge people, they don't open up. But if you accept them and you truly see them, you listen deeply, you connect with them, they feel that, they feel seen, it's easy for people. That builds trust instantly. And that's always my goal when I sit down with someone, is to truly see them. I don't have an agenda. I don't want to lead them in any particular way. I just want to truly see who they are and create a space where they can open up like that and they trust me. And that just, again, comes from lack of judgment and a lot of acceptance.
I think the leverage that you have that I thought was so interesting, because I mean, you were coaching before people started being coaches. Right now it's just like there's coaches on every single block, right? And it's funny because a lot of the coaches that I'll talk to, because my thing is I will invest in all these different coaches. Just sometimes maybe like, what do they got? Like, I don't even know if they're going to help me, but it's just like, let's just see, right? And I would say 9 times out of 10, it's just snake oil, right? And a lot of it's because of they have to coach. Like, they have to make money.
Yeah.
And so that placement, that hard placement, comes from I need to do this because I'm looking at the paycheck. I'm looking at the fee, right? For you, obviously, you don't need to do this. You want to do this. And so the leverage that you see, do you ever find people that are coaching with other people then come to you? And do they ever say anything that why you are different than other coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I get people that leave coaches, that leave therapists, all the time, because it's not, I'm not some process. I'm not some cookie cutter. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of coaches out there, they are probably more teachers or consultants, right? So they have a particular formula. Let me teach you how to be productive in 4 hours. Let me teach you how to have the best, EOS system. Like, it's a framework. And all the frameworks mean absolutely nothing if the internal workings of a person are not dialed in. And so they'll go to a coach and figure out how to sell. They'll go to a coach and figure out how to launch their course. They'll go to a coach and try to be the EOS expert. And it's like, you got the information, but if you don't have the self-trust, the self-belief, the authenticity, like all the inner pieces, they're like, this is what I was missing. And I'm like, now you can go, all that work that you did, all the tools that you paid for, now go put them to use. But that's usually the missing piece that I find with people that have come from other coaches is like, they taught good information, but they didn't coach the person. There's a lot of how to, the what, but never the who.
Okay, let's get into, because that for me is really fascinating, because what you just got me to realize is some of the best coaches out there are the people that can go, top 3 things for you to change your life, right? And it's removing the person from it. And what you're doing is actually the inner work inside. Let's figure out who you are to your core. So I don't fix you, but I bring that out of you, right? Because there's only so much you can do to fix people. It's like, it gets to a certain point, it might feel good. You might do those tips and tricks and things that you get to a certain point. But then I think because you're not changing the person. I always think like people come to me and they say they want to learn leadership. And for them to learn leadership, they actually need to work on themselves first. So it's really personal development. And before personal development, for me, you really need spiritual development. Like everything is actually connected. So it's always opposites. I want to learn to be a leader and then I'll figure out myself. It's like, you really should learn out yourself and then you become a better leader naturally, right? So you mentioned something in a podcast I was listening to of you, and you said hypnotism was actually a lot quicker way that you could do it way faster than you could to coach somebody for 6 years, you said, but you can get them to actually do activation within 6 months. So walk me through in detail what that looks like, and what are you doing to people? Are you gonna do you make them levitate? Do you do something magical?
Walk like a chicken.
Yeah.
No, it is, and I have to say, like, before I would have. Something about me, I used to really like to do things the hard way. I did not have emotions, feelings, like it was hustle and grind for me a long, long time ago. So it had to be hard. I got to a place where I did the internal work and I was like, okay, so yes, you need to write this out. You need to do these things. Like there were certain steps that you had to take to have that self-worth, to build the trust, all the inner work, which I still believe is true. I opened my mind to understanding that if we could go through the subconscious instead of the conscious mind, that we could have a much faster trajectory to get there. And I also realized that I could have 2 people sitting here. One could very much go through their conscious mind and create that change rapidly. They have a different ability with their prefrontal cortex and their amygdala than somebody else could sit here, and it would be like ramming into a cement wall trying to go through their conscious mind. And so when I started to experience that, I was like, there's got to be a different way, and I had known about, hypnotherapy, but to me, it was like giving up control, not doing it the hard way, right? You got to put your pen to paper. And what I learned is that, yes, the conscious mind is very, very loud. And if you sit here, if I were to say to you, you're a $1 billion company, I want you to talk like you're a $1 billion CEO, you might be able to go, yeah, I can do that, no problem. And somebody else would be like, that's a lie. Not happening. No way. How could? I feel like a fake. I feel like a phony. That's the conscious mind shutting it down. So when I use hypnosis, I can bypass that conscious mind while it's in trance, right? And we can go into the subconscious mind and program anything we want in there to boost their confidence, to get them to see themselves as this different CEO, confident, whatever, habits, anything like that. So it's really just kind of hacking, bypassing that conscious mind and going into the subconscious.
What's the process? Can you walk me through like what actually a session looks like?
Yeah, it's basically taking people into an induction, right? So getting them to a place where they relax. When they go through that process, I take them through a visualization, right, of like bringing that relaxation all the way down through their body. So oftentimes you'll feel like a little kind of fuzzy in your body. You'll feel your blood flowing because you're getting relaxed. You're actually dropping from beta waves into alpha waves. And when you get in that alpha wave state, that's when your subconscious is really opening and your conscious mind is dormant. And that's when I can start speaking. So if I want to bring somebody to a place of having more confidence, I may walk them through a whole scenario of like, you see yourself, right? You see yourself and you smile because you realize how much you believe in yourself and how easy it is to make decisions that once felt hard to you. And you realize that these decisions are lining up and every single one is building self-trust and increasing your confidence, right? So I'm giving them this new program. It's almost like AI, right?
Yeah.
We prompt AI all the time. This is the phenomenal correlation now with AI, not to derail this topic, but like we get to prompt our brains the same way, but people aren't doing it. They're just letting the world, news, social, society, politics, prompt their brain for them. So when we come in through hypnosis, we can say, okay, what's the prompt you want to operate on? What do you want your brain to start thinking now for you? And we write it out, and I put it in there.
What do people not know about the brain that you know?
That we have total control over it. Most people are like, what? Wait, you can choose your thoughts? I had a guy at one of the events, he was like, came up to me afterwards, and I think he was like 55, and he was like, I can't believe nobody told me I could choose my thoughts. And I was like, yeah. You know, so most people don't think that because it's tricky, right? You have a thought and you think, well, if I think it must be real, right? If I feel this, I must have to feel this. This is something I'm digging into deep right now because I think it's a sensitive subject, but it's going to my second book, is that emotions are controllable. And some people like, they want to like delete me forever for saying that because it doesn't feel like an emotion is controllable. You get mad, somebody made you mad, like, how do I not be mad? But if you have capacity in your prefrontal cortex, you can 100% choose not to have that emotion. So there's so much control that people aren't taking responsibility and ownership around the emotions, your thoughts, programming your reticular activating system so that your reality is based upon what you actually want to see, not the movie that everyone else is showing you. There's so much possibility.
Oh yeah. What is the, because the brain for me is interesting. It's almost like if you ever put on the AI goggles and you like walk on a little plank and someone pushes you off, your body reacts. So like your brain doesn't really know what's real and what's not. It's what you tell it. So the topic I want to get into before we get into a little bit about your book, because I want to dive into that, everything you're teaching about it. But you said the words people use, which I thought was really interesting. A lot of people always say things like I am, and you actually reframed it to then I feel. So can you talk about those two things?
Absolutely. I am is a state, right? Like you're claiming it, you're owning it. So if I am, a procrastinator, that language goes through the brain and it stores as data, like into the hippocampus, like, okay, this is my program. I am a procrastinator. So then the brain starts to feed you everything to make that true because the brain loves congruence. So any I am statement is going to be collected as data, as knowledge, and it's stored in our library. Versus when we feel something, when we recognize like, I feel like I'm kind of a procrastinator sometimes, the feeling allows us to change it. It's not set in stone. It's not defined data that goes into the library. It's a feeling, and the brain knows that we can feel hungry, right? And then eat and not feel hungry. We can feel angry, and then something happens and we feel happy. So feelings are changeable. They're fleeting. They change with circumstances and anything else that's going on. So when we declare something as a feeling, that gives our brain like, okay, well, do I want to feel this way? Let's not save this as known, data. Unless it's something really great. I am strong. I am healthy. I am a Wall Street Journal, bestselling author. Like things that I really want to claim, I'm going to use I am because I want my brain to recognize that as stored data to run off of. But the things I want to get rid of, I'm going to say I feel tired. I feel tired today. Because then I'm like, what do I want to do to change that? It gives us the opportunity and the empowerment to intersect in between what we feel and what we want.
Yeah, it's funny because for me, I see a lot of people do this where it's like they say like, I feel I'm tired, right? But then if all of a sudden something great just happened in their life, like for example, let's say that I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm tired, Angie, blah, 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 like I am. But then all of a sudden like somebody comes in for a surprise birthday party for me, they're not going to feel that state anymore.
Right.
They're going to be like, okay, yeah, my friends are here, like, let's go, right? So that's so interesting because there's so many people that really don't think that they can control their brain. And that's so important to know that you are in control, even though your environment feels like it controls you. So you're writing this new book, and so obviously there goes a lot of things go into writing a book. So what are things that what did you start with in terms of the topic of it, and what have you found as you're writing this book?
I'm so excited about it because it's just, people aren't looking at it as the crisis that we're in right now. And we're in a capacity crisis. Every day somebody feels like they have a lack of drive, they're ADD, they can't focus, they're not passionate, they're depressed. Like every day someone's like, I don't know what happened to me. I just don't even perform the same way. I've lost my sales touch. Like there's something going on. And what I've realized is that our capacity hasn't changed. Our biological capacity, we have so much prefrontal cortex battery. Every single day, you go to bed, you go through neural washing, you wake up with this battery. Years ago, right, 30 years ago, you got home at the end of your day and you still had battery left over. Because you only went to school, you went to work. If you talked, you were talking on a phone that was corded. So you had excess battery. It's why hustle and grind worked back then, because you still had battery to use. Fast forward to today, it's a 24/7 access to you and output, right? You wake up in the morning, people grab their phone, they're scrolling through social, the news is coming in. Your battery is like, whoop, just depleting by the second. So all of a sudden by noon or 1, people are toast. I can't even make another decision. They're short, they snap at people, performance isn't there, they think they've lost their discipline, their motivation. You just have a capacity issue. And what has happened is that we've never had the need to protect our capacity because we've had an abundance of it in our world. Now, we have a big, big need to protect our capacity, to protect it and direct it towards what we intentionally want to do, because there's way too much that it has a free-for-all on our capacity right now.
Oh, that's so good. That is amazing. That's so true. It's funny how so many people are talking about everybody has ADD now. It's like, well, yeah, go into a freaking restaurant and there's a TV there, there's a TV there, this person, your phone's blowing up, your now Apple Watch is going crazy. And it's like, well, yeah, like everybody has ADD because like, look what the world's doing. What are you doing to then help people realize their capacity? Because I hear a lot of people tell me a lot, I don't have 5 minutes to meditate. I don't have even 10 minutes of my day. And like, it's always that language, I don't have.
Right.
So what are you doing to kind of unwind and get them to realize that like you are watching the news, which is draining you. You are watching these things that are draining you. What are you doing to help them out with that?
I mean, the easiest place to start looking is a couple of your buckets, like emotional and mental. Those are two massive capacity buckets that leak for people all day long. So I'll give you an example. One of my really successful clients, he's scaling 2 businesses, and he'd come in and be like, I just didn't have time to get to this. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, it's weird because I don't feel like I have a lot to do, but for some reason, I'm not getting to it. We audited his time. 50% of his time was here. Thinking about a decision, trying to like decide what to do, looking at an opportunity. Like it was just like mind circling all the time, ruminating, playing a conversation, what's on my to-do list. That takes up the same amount of capacity as sitting down and making, a $5 million investment decision. It's the same battery that it pulls from, and people don't realize that emotions, worry, fear, perfectionism, people-pleasing, or ruminating, overanalyzing, overthinking, those are actually time issues. Those are capacity constraints. But people don't think about it because they're not doing something, right? You're not like going to take a run that takes you an hour, but you'll sit and you'll stew about something for an hour. That's time, that's capacity. So when people realize that there's a cost to that, there's a cost to overthinking, overanalyzing, comparison, people-pleasing, then they realize, okay, do I want to spend my capacity there, or do I want to use it for what I'm trying to achieve or with my family? So it's bringing this awareness around the fact that you have choices around your capacity, going back to the emotions. Somebody said to me today, like, I was so frustrated. I had to wait an hour in that doctor's office, and I was so annoyed and so frustrated. And I'm like, I cost you an hour. They were like, oh, crap. Like they don't want it to cost that. And when you realize that it isn't free, those emotions, the mind, wandering isn't free. You get more intentional about how you spend it.
I don't think anybody's talking about that right now.
Nobody's talking about
Oh,
that.
that's amazing.
And that's just the tip of it,
Yeah, it's only gonna get worse. So let's fast forward then a little bit. Let's act like we could take a pill and Angie is here forever, right? You think about your kids growing up in their generation, which, I think my generation was the last one that we didn't have smartphones growing up. So like millennials are like the last ones. Now it's just, they have everything at their disposal. There's so many different types of things that are distracting them. That is probably going to be the best topic to teach people how to bring their most capacity out, is that concept. So if you now could fast forward and now you're coaching those that are going to be even worse than your current, because we have people that are bad right now, but they at least got to grow up in, they know the difference between what world looks like without smartphones. How are you going to audit those people? Is it looking at their calendar? Is it looking at what their belief is? What would you do?
It's looking at, mentally and physically how they're spending their time. It's still an audit of like, where are you giving that capacity to? And even if you ask somebody who's 20 years old, right? And you're like, okay, how do you feel most of the day? And if they're like anxious, depressed, uncertain, that's a capacity problem, right? So even just analyzing like what state do you feel the majority of your time, and what are you actually doing the majority of your time? Physically, mentally, emotionally, it's always going to be the audit. Always. And that awareness, if you have a real why to what you want to do, that awareness will unlock things for you. Now, if you don't, and you're like, I don't really care, I like to scroll, I'm not trying to live any other different way, I'm good clocking in, clocking out, and living the life that I have, it won't matter, right? They won't want to change. But I think this is reaching a different group, and not to sidestep your question about that next generation, but it used to be just a performance thing, but it's now coming into even people who aren't necessarily performing from a sales perspective or an achievement perspective, just their simple joy and peace. And I do think that younger generation values that a lot. A lot. I think that the achievement piece is a little less than previous generations, you might agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But the state and quality of life is something they put a really big emphasis on.
Oh, that's so good. I was at this mastermind, and this guy, it was mostly people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, very high-level CEOs, C-suite people, all that. You were allowed to bring a +1, and one of the dads brought his son, who was 8 years old, and he was the smartest person in the room. It was unbelievable what his brain was doing. He was doing the most reflection than any of us. He would stand up with the mic, and he was just like, I am overthinking everything. I'm anxious. I hate my thoughts. It was so much negative words, and you could see how much he was struggling with it. But this kid was a genius, and all of us are looking at her like, this kid is smarter than all. It was unbelievable, and I realized it's because he has all these comparisons and all these different things that. Before, you never did that. You kind of just were looking at what was the obstacle in front of you, and can I perform on this one thing? But then even if you do get that one thing, you now have your phone that sees, Justin Bieber is bigger than me, or this person's bigger than me. And it's always comparison things that you really don't even get to see the inside look of if those people are even happy. And a lot of times when you talk to those people, the things that you admire about them the most are the things that you're like, I want. But then you look deeper into it and you're like, wait, I really don't want to be them though, right? Yeah. So that is so interesting, because that book is not even just for business people. It's for parents to understand how they can actually help their kids as well with the capacity issue. Because there's this disconnect between parents growing up and it's such a different generation now with smartphones and everything else that it is so much distracting. And we're in the social media industry, so we know that's their goal is to keep attention. How do we do quick hooks? There's certain colors, there's certain things that we're doing. One of my videos I put out the other day, I literally started the first hook washing a banana underneath the water. And that then got people to look at it. And it's like, well, what am I doing? I'm just getting people to be like, what is he doing? And having a reaction. I don't even know if that's good, right?
Well,
it's just
for marketing, right?
Right? But it's well, is that good though? It's what are we doing? We're trying to compete with attention. And so I love what you said about the joy, because when you're competing with attention, it kind of goes back to what made me and you as we were growing up, the people pleaser, where it's we're fighting for attention. And now it's like you have people that are the most connected ever in the world that are the most disconnected. We can be in a room, but then if I'm on my phone like this, so Angie, tell me about this. Like, how does that make you feel? Like, you're like, I'm not connected with you anymore. So do you see a sense of disconnection between people that are, I guess, who is your youngest client that you have? Do you have anybody in their 20s and 30s, or mostly is it 40s and up?
I'm trying to think right now. My youngest client I had was 25.
Okay.
She's not current with me right now.
Do you see a difference of the mindset of that generation versus maybe 40s and 50s, or kind of this pretty similar?
There probably is, but I think I kind of get the same through line for me anyways, right? Because who's coming to me is still that high performer, that overachiever. So the typical 25-year-old that's coming to me, even take my son for an example, right?
Yeah.
He's 22. He's not going to be like a lot of 22-year-olds out there.
No.
So the conversation we have, he's not, seduced by social. He's not stuck in some of the areas that the typical people would be. So I can't make a fair assessment. I'm sure there's a different mindset around it, but I get the common thread of the people who come here, they want to achieve.
Interesting. I love it. What's the non-negotiable for you that allows people to tap into allowing them to have more capacity?
Like for me personally, my mornings are, it's a huge capacity preservation time. When we wake up, we're coming out of delta into theta into alpha waves. And so that morning time, speaking of the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, when you nurture it and you use it intentionally, you get so much bang for your buck. You're in almost that hypnotic state as you move through those sleep phases. So it's when I do my hypnosis, it's when I do my morning mindset journal, it's when I read, scripture or my devotional. So all of that is my pure programming time. And there's massive capacity preservation there and programming. Versus a lot of people pick up that phone in the morning and you jump from delta, theta to like skyrocket into beta waves. Your amygdala gets firing, and now all of a sudden what you're programming in is the comparison, the emails, the clients, like it's insane. So non-negotiable for me. You will never, ever not see me wake up and go through that process.
Yeah, I have this quote where I always say, your source in the morning becomes your resource for the day. And when I don't go into scripture, I don't read the word. That's my thing. It's just like getting into the Bible. And I literally have documented like my life is so much better. But then when I miss it, because I sometimes do that, like, business owner and busy, and there's people blowing me up, and I get into people pleasing and fixing right away, right? And then all of a sudden I like, wow, I'm more irritable, and I'm, more this. So it's every day for you. Don't miss it.
I do not miss it. I will not miss it. If I have an overnight flight, I'm doing it on the plane. If I'm in another country, I'm doing it there.
Are you scheduling it where you're like, nobody can bug me first thing in the morning, or do you have certain cues where it's like, put your phone far away? Like, because obviously life still comes in sometimes. So how do you manage that?
Well, one, I start early. I love an early morning. I'm just obsessed with it. Never, ever did I before, but I also believe that if you don't create the morning that you love, of course you don't want to wake up early. I love it. So I wake up at 4:15. So I have that whole, I don't work out till 5:30. So, I've got a whole hour before I leave for the gym, and that's me. Nobody's really up to bug me. I don't look at my phone. So if somebody did text me or if someone did email me, I don't know about it. So I just don't allow there to even be an opportunity for the external world to come into my space.
Love it. Because if somebody texts you at 4:15, you would know that you can just get rid of that client.
Yeah. Well, I do have some East Coast clients.
Okay, well then
right?
I guess.
So I will have a text occasionally, like when I get through my process or whenever I look at it, I'll be like, oh yeah. Because I am also of the mind that, like, text me whenever you want. I can control my own boundaries. You'll hear from me when you hear from me, or.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, when's the book coming out?
October.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm deep in it right now.
You're like, are you
editing,
okay.
yeah,
So
like, because it's been written, and now it's just, I'm in that phase where I'm like, oh this, where you're gonna have to get to the place of quit adding and quit thinking.
I love it. Are you taking any more clients right now for coaching?
Not one-on-one. I run a mastermind, but unless, I always say this one caveat, if it's like some shiny ball comes my way, a company that has a massive opportunity, because I love that. Like, I love working one-on-one with people, but I also love when they have a company that I can really get dirty in. I mean,
she didn't say no. So if you're that shiny ball, don't be afraid to apply to Angie.
I will make the room. I always believe that God will make the room if it's the right opportunity. but I do love a challenge and complexity in a company, and my background's finance, so it's like there's all sorts of fun stuff to dig into. But
so if somebody wanted to get some things on you and learn more about you, or even, I mean, you can't one-on-one coach, but you do offer other things. Can you talk about what you offer?
There's so much. I mean, I wrote my first book because I knew that not everyone would be able to sit in a room with me or even come to an event. So the non-negotiable you, it's the foundation. It's what we talked about, that inner work, the self-trust. And I will put any person who's done that developmental work up against any successful person, and they will start running at that same pace. It's the internal work that does it all. So the non-negotiable you is out there. It's on Amazon. My morning mindset journal for people who really you want to process, to understand how to build that relationship with yourself, trust yourself, wire your brain. That's a great one too. And I throw stuff out there all over the place, I mean, I just want to help people. So you'll find videos and stuff and everywhere.
She has an amazing podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing YouTube channel, Instagram. So I mean, that's the great thing, is you're actually on social media, so they can get some of the free things.
Absolutely.
And again, she didn't say no to one-on-one coaching, so hit her up, blow up Gabby, do all that.
Right.
Thank you for spending time and doing this. I really appreciate it. It was just such a great conversation, and I love everything about you. You're so awesome. I'm glad we got to get into some things that I didn't get to see in the research. It makes sense on why you're the person that you are. And it's not just because of you're just talented naturally. I think some people think that way, but the pain you turned into a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I got chills calling your clients, because they all were just, they were probably like, what is Jared talking to me like 5 years? Why is he calling me? And I was in a voice, I was like, hey, this is random, but I have Angie on.
So funny.
And they were like, done, I'll call you right away, right?
Oh my
so
gosh.
It just shows how much people value you and how they look up. So thank you for taking your suffering and turning it into something amazing, because you're helping so many people. And I just love you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you, Jared. I appreciate you bringing such a good conversation, doing the work and the research. And I'm just touched by all of your acknowledgement, and just love it. So thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thanks, guys, as always. Subscribe. What have I got, Jake? Hit this notification button. All of it. Do all of it. We love you guys. We'll see you next episode.